Okay, the MX242 has been on the market for a couple of years now, and still there's no other shoe that caters for customers with different issues with their feet quite so well as the MX242 does. If you've got extra high volume feet, this shoe will work really well for you. If you've got extra low volume feet, this shoe will work really well with you. If you've got bunions on the big or little toe, then this shoe will work really well with you. Or if you struggle because you've got a very narrow heel, this shoe will work really well with you. The shoe features two boas, a heat moldable heel cup, this Carbotex material on the outside and on the inside. This slightly stiffer material is there to help parts of the shoe where there's quite a lot of load going through. The MX242 is available in a regular width and a wide. It uses Lake's Competition Last, which features a narrower heel compared to a very broad forefoot. It's available in sizes in regular 37 all the way up to 52, in half sizes in the regular width from 39.5 all the way up to 46.5. In the wide, it's available from size 38 all the way up to size 52. Again, in half sizes from 39.5 all the way up to 46.5. In a 42.5, the shoe weighs in at 429 grams. The shoe is available in two colours, black in full grain leather and a bio camo and black Hellcore finished leather. One of the most innovative design features of this shoe is you can clearly see that there's open sides to the panels, meaning that when this shoe is tightened up, there's way less compression on the inside and outside of the shoe, meaning that if you have very wide feet or bunions, the shoe simply just doesn't press into the sides as much as a normal shoe does. At £325, the MX242 could be considered quite expensive, especially when you're comparing it on paper to the specs of Shimano's XC702. The XC702 has two boas, has a full carbon sole, it has quite an aggressive sport-specific last. It's also available from sizes 39.5 to 46.5 in wide. It's also available from size 37 all the way up to 52. But looking at these specs on paper and comparing the shoes doesn't really take into the account the innovation Lake have driven in to the 242. Now let me just tell you that Lake have a habit of being able to do things in cycling shoes that aren't necessarily easy to compare. Starting off really just with the way this shoe closes around your foot. So by popping the boas off and pulling the panels apart, it's clear to see that this shoe can be taken apart individually. So you have the ability to tighten this shoe up around aberrations, if you like, of your foot. So the closure system, Lake have used two Li2 boa dials. The boa dials feature this kind of cross pattern across the shoe, and there's these two lace locks that allow you to kind of almost set where your laces get tightened up across, giving you even more control if you've got a slightly high or bumpy, bony kind of like midfoot up towards your ankle. The position of the ankle boa is really high up towards your ankle, and the distance between the two boas is also relatively high. So this really allows this foot to tighten up nice and secure in the ankle and deliver the performance you need, but like tighten up and not allow any movement down at your forefoot, but at a totally different width and a totally different profile compared to the tension it's given up here. It's super important to set the heel inside a cycling shoe, so when you're pushing down on the pedal hard, you want your heel to remain rock solid so that almost like your ankle stays back and your forefoot can really feel through the shoe. It just allows more stability on the push. So any shoe with a heat moldable heel is like kind of that one step above the rest in terms of its like ability to help you deliver power in a stable manner on the pedals. So the heat moldable heel cup is a great additional feature. Now the heat molding process itself is quite simple. You want to put the shoes in the oven at a temperature of 90 degrees Celsius for 4 minutes. Also worth saying that you should go on Amazon or something and buy a little thermometer just so you have a nice visual guide on the temperature. There's also a heat molding guide on the Lake website just for reference. You want to just get your heel like back and also down into the floor at the same time as you tighten up the ankle boa, and then you just want to slowly massage the heat cup around your heel initially while it's the most malleable. Once you've got your heel formed inside the shoe, you'll feel the carbon wrap around that kind of calcaneus, so that's your heel bone at the back of the shoe. Then you're just going to rest your foot down and then just relax. I wouldn't even bother that much. Doing this front bow is not that important for the heat molding. It's all about getting the heel in the right place inside the shoe. The sole of the shoe, you can see, has a pair of lugs at the front and kind of like a smaller pair of lugs at the back. So more than enough traction for running. So these are kind of like perfect for like cyclocross or cross-country mountain biking. The toes also accept spikes. So if you're going to be using these shoes for cyclocross or also some gravel events where you kind of have to sometimes get off depending on how steep the terrain is that you're going up, these shoes will accept toe spikes. They do not come supplied with toe spikes, so you will have to buy them extra, but they're not that expensive. The shoe has like a fore-aft track, so you're able to put the cleat quite far forward, quite far back on the shoe, and the lugs don't get in the way of the kind of side to side movement of the cleat. The shoes are quite wide, so I tend to recommend people put their SPD cleats, if that's the system that you're using, on the medial end, if you like, so the more inside side of the shoe relative to your big toe. And that's just to stop heel rub on the crank or anything like that. Also actually helps most people's hips if you increase the stance width, but that's a slightly different video. By the way, if you like the reviews I'm doing on the Lake cycling shoes, please drop a subscribe and a like on this video. Maybe even put a comment in the comment section if you have any specific questions. Now back to the video. The finish of the shoe is exceptionally high quality. The full grain leather, the stitching on it is done to an exceptionally high standard, and the leather is cut and finished off really well. It's backed by this water resistant sort of like ripstop almost fabric you can see here, and that stops excessive water really getting in through the material, but there's no kind of like hemi rough edges on it anywhere. It's all stuck together really well. There's no obvious areas that the material is going to start to kind of come away and tear. This new foam material underneath is this very highly ventilated mesh-like fabric. It's got this kind of like gauze on top and then this foam coming into the back of the shoe. Again, you can see that the finish of the leather attachments on the shoe, it's not clear to me that this is going to start piling away anywhere. The bottom of the shoe, you can see that there is just a slight exposure of that full carbon sole on the instep, but other than that, there's a full rubber coverage on the shoe, so they've not skimped out anywhere with the rubber. And the way that it's fastened down, I'm pulling quite hard here at the leather, and even where I've got a little bit of leverage to pull, like I'm not going to do any damage to the back leather, well, the kind of the join, if you like, between the rubber and the leather here. Now, obviously, one of the biggest strengths of this shoe are the semi-opened panels right on the very edges of the shoe. They are one of the main reasons that this shoe is so friendly for people that really struggle with compression. However, it does leave the shoe quite open to ventilation and water ingress. It's hard for me to tell you how good or bad this is compared to the next shoe, because really I don't do this test an awful lot as far as comparisons go. Now, what foot and what shoe? I don't have any particularly fancy features of my feet. I feel my feet are quite wide at the forefoot and quite narrow at the heel, but a lot of guys like me have similar feet. And I find that the way that the heel cup retains my foot is really satisfying. This shoe is absolutely perfect if you have bunions and you've maybe searched the market for other options that potentially offer some sort of wide fit and different uppers and different bows and what have you. The kind of unique construction of the upper and the way that the upper encapsulates and encloses your foot is totally unique to this shoe, and as such there's no better offering on the market, I feel, right now than this shoe if bunions and bunion discomfort while you're riding is something that you really struggle with. But now that all the fancy technical specs of this shoe are put aside, one of the greatest strengths on this shoe is the fact that it's completely versatile. You can use this shoe for so many different disciplines of cycling. The Hellcore shoe, it's rugged enough that you could use that thing on an enduro bike and have pretty satisfying results with its longevity. Black leather version is comfortable enough and sleek enough that if you prefer to ride SPD shoes because of the dual-sided nature of them, and potentially you're a more nervous cyclist, you could use this legitimately as a road shoe. It's ventilated enough that you could use it as a spin shoe, and it's easy enough to walk around on that you could use this shoe for commuting, you could use this shoe because of the spikes for cyclocross, you could use this shoe as a cross-country shoe. Really, there's nothing that you can't do if you have a foot and you ride bikes with this cycling shoe. Thanks very much for watching the review I've done on this MX242 shoe. See you next time.